Hello. So in this writing notes video, we're going to talk about how to write a professional email. Now this might seem like a pretty basic thing since most of us write emails every day, but when you're writing a professional email as opposed to just a sort of, email to your friend or to your mom or whatever it is, there's a certain set of things that you want to be considering. So we're going to talk about some of those in this video. Now, this is my official professional university email through Office 365. It's entirely possible that your email will look different. This is my Gmail account, but the functions are going to be generally the same, and so that's what we're going to primarily focus on today. So when you're composing a message, and I'm going to click New Message so we get this. So there's a few basic pieces here that you want to be thinking about. The To section. Obviously, this is very straightforward. This is whoever you want to send it to. So I'm just going to put my partner in there. I'm not actually sending this email, but so that would be what you would do. Straightforward, simple, no real tricks there. Except if you are replying to an email. Like, say I wanted to reply to this email from one of my supervisors in the English department here at Penn State. Now this, you may notice, is addressed to the English department listserv. So if I hit reply, that's this button in Office 365. If I hit reply, I don't actually want to do that. So if I hit reply, there's a good chance that this is actually going to be sent to the English department listserv, which means everybody in the English department will get it. Especially if I hit reply all, that's definitely going to happen. So whenever you're getting anything from a listserv, you want to be very careful about making sure that that email is going to go to the person you want it to go to. Otherwise, you're clogging up everybody's inbox with information they probably don't need. And trust me, as someone who has had my inbox clogged up with information I don't really need, a lot of people would prefer you don't do that. So that's the basic thing. Send it to whoever you want to send it to. You can CC people if there are other people other than who's directly getting it that this is relevant to. You can also use BCC, which is blind carbon copy. So CC, carbon copy, means that the people that you addressed in the to bar can see who you're sending it to. BCC, they don't know. The primary recipients of this email will not be notified that these people have been carbon copied. So that's usually not that important a function. The next thing you have is the subject line. Now this is actually really crucial, especially for business and professional emails, because business people, professional people often get maybe hundreds of emails a day. And the problem with that is that if you have to sort through hundreds of emails a day to figure out which ones actually require your attention and which ones don't, a vague subject line or a bad subject line or something like this may get thrown directly in the recycling folder or the trash folder. So when you're composing a subject line for a professional email, you want the subject line to convey your main message. That's Y-O-U-R, not Y-O-U''RE, which I have no idea why I typed. But you want the subject line to convey your main message. You want the core piece of information that your reader needs to get from this email right here in the subject line. The reason for that, if you think back to a video that I did on 5 key principles of business writing, some of them are things like be clear and be direct. The subject line is the easiest way to do this. Here you tell your reader exactly what you want them to get, and that's useful because A, it helps them determine whether or not this email is even important enough to read, and B, it makes sure that they know the key piece of information even if they decide not to read the email in detail, which again, business people who are very busy may or may not decide to do. Then, once you get into the body of the email itself, there's a couple of things that you want to think about. You want to decide how you're addressing this person. So if it's someone that you know personally, it can be their first name, whatever it is. If it's not someone that you know personally, if, for instance, you are contacting someone for the first time in your professional capacity, you want to use Dear, Mr., Miss, Doctor, Professor, Senator, Representative, whatever that person's title is, and then their name. And then their last name. Sorry. So, Dear, title, last name. Just like you would do on a letter. This is the same way that you want to think about this. Then within the body of the message itself, be clear, be concise, be specific. Use short, focused paragraphs. Again, these are general guidelines for successful business writing anyway, because you want to always be respectful of your reader's time. You want to be aware that business people are busy. They don't necessarily want to spend a ton of time on extraneous reading. So be clear, be concise, be specific. Use short, focused paragraphs. These are all techniques that will move through information very quickly, very clearly, and very efficiently. And that's exactly what you want for business communication. And then last, this should actually be a default component of your email. You want a signature line. So there's no hard and fast guidelines for what a signature line should look like, but the basic components should be, at the very least, your name. I have mine in italics, so it stands out a little bit more, but there's no inherent reason you have to do that. Some people bold it, some people put it in a different size font, some people put it in a different color, whatever it is. Some people just leave it the same as all the rest of the text. You often want your professional title. And then things like the company, that you work for, your address, maybe your email address, phone number, depending on how much contact information you want to give. Mine is pretty basic in that sense. And then one thing that people are increasingly doing, but this is not necessarily traditional, is to include their pronouns with their email signature. This is an inclusivity gesture, but again, it's a fairly recent development, but it is something that's increasingly becoming the norm. So it's something to think about, and actually I would encourage you to do this. Other things that people sometimes do, though I think this is probably more academics than it is people in other types of businesses, is they'll promote particular things. Like if you've, like people will include links to their latest book or something like that. So if you're doing some sort of large scale project, like you're working for a charity or something like this that you want people to be aware of, that's another thing you can do in the subject line. For me, the sort of pitfall of that is that I think people are often not reading subject line, or sorry, that's another thing you can do in the signature line. I think people are often not reading signature lines that thoroughly, so I'm not sure how much traction it really generates. But again, the key components here: make sure that you are sending this email exactly to who you want it to. Make sure you're not sending it to a listserv or not replying to a listserv. Use the subject line. Get as much mileage as you possibly can out of this subject line, so the reader knows that this is important and what the key information is. And then organize the body of your email according to our general business principles. Short, focused paragraphs, thinking about your reader and respecting their time.